The unquiet mind, the continuous loop of internal dialogue, the highs, the lows, always misunderstood, years of expectation, years of pain. I've lost everything. My money, my friends, my soul. Finally, I've found my purpose. I've found my passion. It's not if you win or lose the game. It's if you can survive. My dad was a linebacker and quarterback at Michigan State, so I always looked up to him and always loved to get in there and get my nose dirty a little bit with the guys with ice hockey and football. And, you know, it was just always a passion of mine to go out there and bang some heads.
Dad had a helmet that was signed by the Detroit Lions. Greg loved to just put it on with a ball, and he would much rather play with something having to do with sports than toys.
I can remember Diane's father throwing him a puffball, you know, quilted ball, and he could blast that thing with a plastic bat, and he'd be all upset if he didn't hit it. He just had to do it right. It had to be a perfect way to do it.
Everything was perfect for Greg Montgomery. He pitched and played linebacker in high school. But everything changed when he cracked a vertebra while hitting a blocking sled.
I was advised not to play contact sports ever again, which was just kind of devastating at the time, you know, being a 16-year-old kid and loving to go out there and play ball with everybody.
Because of his injury, Montgomery couldn't play linebacker anymore. He became a punter by default.
Greg always wanted to be the linebacker. He didn't want to be just a punter. He carried that stigma with him that he was just a punter.
I was pissed because I couldn't actually get out there and play with my teammates. At that age, I really didn't see the light at the end of the tunnel. I thought it was just kind of a dead end.
Instead, it was a beginning. Like his father, he went to Michigan State. But Montgomery wasn't just a punter. He set Big Ten records, became an All-American, and in 1988 was drafted by the Houston Oilers. Greg played in the NFL for 9 years and was a two-time All-Pro. He was an exceptional punter by anyone's standards, except his own.
The anxiety of leading up to each punt and the pressure of me wanting to hit the perfect punt took its toll on me. I would try to punt the ball instead of allow my foot to release into the ball. I was squeezing, I was trying too hard. I put so much pressure on myself and I did somewhat alienate myself. It started to get really bad.
His punt soared to spectacular heights, then crashed. So did Greg. The reason was more than crippling self-doubt. He was mentally ill.
In the extreme forms, you hallucinate and are delusional, and by which I mean you see things, you hear things that aren't there. You believe things that are simply completely unreal, that there are people after you or that you're the Messiah, or, you know, so you're completely out of touch with reality.
Dr. Kay Jamison has dealt with depression for most of her life. After surviving a suicide attempt, she became a writer and one of the foremost experts on the causes and treatment of mental illness.
I think certainly until I got mentally ill when I was 17, it never occurred to me that there was such a thing really as suicide, or that there was anything that I couldn't trust my mind. You assume that your brain is going to function tomorrow as it does today. I think one of the things that severe mental illness does is it robs you of that security. Your mind is your friend, and you know, you spend more time with yourself inside your head than you do with anybody else. And so if that turns on you, it is a particularly dreadful sort of thing, and you don't know what to trust, what not to trust. When you get depressed, any sense of your ability to do things well sort of evaporates.
I mean, I was done. I just lost my drive. It was starting to get tough for me between my ears as well, with a little bit of the depression and getting down that I can't perform the way I want to do, even though I was first, second in the league the last 3 years of my career. I just didn't feel I could go out there and execute like I wanted to, so that's why I quit.
As it turned out, Greg's playing days weren't over, and the battle with his demons was just beginning.
Up next, part 2 of the Greg Montgomery story.
There's this sense of complete despair and hopelessness. You don't see that there's anything out there except for the worst possible thing.
Greg Montgomery's retirement lasted just 1 year. He signed with the Ravens in 1996. He was injury-free and full of optimism. Greg had a wild new look about him that included painting his fingernails purple. But he was even wilder on the inside, his mind constantly racing with ideas.
We were on the phone, and Greg was telling us about all these things he was going to do.
I was working on a fashion magazine.
He was talking about a book,
I was working on an electronic music festival.
about a film that he was going to do,
Them hearing that for the first time, it was probably threw up some red flags.
and it was a roller coaster ride.
Your thoughts in mania very often are going so fast that you cannot control them. And that, for many people, and myself included, when I first went mad, that was the thing that unglued me even more than being delusional or having hallucinations, was my thinking was so fast, I could not remember the beginning of a sentence by the time I got to the end of a sentence in my head. This is a terrifying experience.
Montgomery was spinning out of control, supercharged 1 week, exhausted the next. Then, before a 1997 preseason game, he had a panic attack.
I couldn't catch the ball in pregame. I couldn't feel my hands. My heart was racing. Getting my hand kicked by Stover as I fumbled the ball. And it was one of those deals where it's almost where you want to go home.
He didn't even know if he could catch the ball, much less punt it. But he just gritted his teeth, got in there, and it was a 65-yard bullet. But he really had to cope with some demons that day.
So that was horrible, 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 horrible.
Montgomery was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. He received medication, then soon after, he left the game for good.
Bipolar illness is treatable. A lot of people have it. Really painful if it isn't treated. You're painful aware of not only are you in a terrible state yourself, but you are affecting other people.
You know, hearing about bipolar disorder and reading about it and knowing that Greg tended to be much more on the depressive side. Of course, you think suicide. And that was our prime concern.
Back then, when I didn't know what it was, it was, it got a little scary for a minute. That's where my journey began, figuring out exactly how to peel my onion and how to figure out who I am as a man and figure out the best way to navigate this gauntlet, man.
After retiring, Greg focused on the perfect punt again. He studied golf and baseball swings and analyzed his film. Finally, he discovered the secret. The key is his innovative set and pull technique and a willingness to trust it. He became a punting consultant, and his first student was a struggling young punter named Donnie Jones.
Ready? Stick it. Pull. A little less effort. Just kind of let it go.
Before working with Montgomery, Jones was fighting to make the team at LSU. Now he's one of the NFL's best and the first since Sammy Baugh to average 50 yards per punt in a season.
Now, when you come through one more time, I want you to come through and roll off that right side and get up through it. There you go. That's it.
You know, I can't speak more for what he's done for me, the stuff we accomplished, the things that we went through. And, you know, I don't know that I'd be where I'm at today without the help of Greg Montgomery.
All right, let's do a couple, just a couple set and pull drills. Remember?
You know, I think he's got a gift. The stuff I learned, you know, it's priceless.
There you go.
For years, Greg was underwater, and he's back in it again. The perfect place to perfect a fluid punting motion.
So he'll get in the pool and he'll actually take his steps in slow motion and bounce, and then pull his ankle up, set his foot and pull his knee forward, and then allow it to snap out of the pool. Remember, man, we're doing the set and pull. We're gonna set that knee and pull with a hip flexor, right? And you know, just to relax and trust it, right?
I think it's the greatest form of resistance, just getting in there and swinging against the water. I've always thought that the pool is a great tool to use.
1, 2, 3. Yep, 1, 2, 3, pull. Trust it, pull, relax, excellent. My gift is to give away what I've got in my mind, all my, you know, all the trials and tribulations. Basically, I was sharpening my tools. I was building my war chest to be able to share the wisdom that I've earned over the years.
Mentoring young punters has given Montgomery's life a purpose. Raising money and awareness for the thousands suffering with bipolar disorder has given it meaning.
As far as the mental health awareness, it's working with a bunch of organizations that want to help further the cause, to raise money for research, and as well as help those in need when it comes to dire times for them. You know what? I learned that I could move mountains. I learned that I could overcome some obstacles that a lot of people probably couldn't have. I mean, I learned that I could do it. I learned that I was enough, and I also learned that I'll never stop growing.
Ones that do suffer from bipolar disorder have someone where they can go to who's been there. He's able to share his story with others and to be able to help them.
I think what Greg went through is extraordinary, and it's extraordinary because it's literally played out on a public field. It's how you deal with it, and it's the cards you're dealt and how you play them. And he obviously has played them with grace and with learning, and has made the assumption that you're going to have to continue learning. And I think that's the best possible thing that comes out of it.
Well, we are extremely proud of him, and I mean, the guy has just, you know, he never ceases to amaze us. Greg has been in the woods for some time, going from tree to tree, and finally getting to a clearing. He's found his niche right now.
In order to go to heaven, you got to go to hell. I've already put my hand on the stove enough, man. I'm done with that. I'm long enough in the tooth where I understand my limitations, what makes me tick. What I was looking for all those years, I had it the whole time. And I'm never letting it go again.